This podcast is supported by Siemens, your partner for industrial-grade AI.
Hello everybody and welcome to a new episode of our Industrial AI podcast. My name is Robert Weber and in Stockholm I would like to welcome Magnus Malmström, CTO of Sandvik. Hello Magnus, welcome to the podcast.
Hello. Thank you. It's a great pleasure to be here.
Magnus, before we talk about AI at Sandvik, why don't you introduce Sandvik to the listeners who don't know the company?
Yeah. Sandvik is a Swedish technology engineering company and we work on a global basis. You could say that we advance the world through engineering in distinct two areas. One is mining and one is manufacturing. And both are going more into automation and sustainability. And I think we have come furthest in mining, where we do autonomous mining already today. Manufacturing is a little more complex area, so we do that more stepwise.
So let's focus on manufacturing. Everyone is talking about Gen AI and industrial AI. Your customers too, Marcos?
Yes, I think if you look back a year, it was more, let's say, a vision or people, the customers or people that take decisions, look at it in the future as something that it will come, but we wait and let's see what we can play with, etc. Since that generative AI was launched through ChatGPT, it has transformed the world. So now it's more of a ticket to play. If we don't have it, then and use it in the best way to make our customers more intelligent in the way they do manufacturing, there will be a big struggle for a company, any company that don't choose that direction. So it's a ticket to play.
Okay. Is AI a deciding factor already for your customers?
Some customers.
What kind of customers?
Not absolutely not all, but so for instance, we had a workshop with a leading aerospace company last week, and they do one of the few jet fighters in the world, and it was very clear for them for the next vendor choice they do, it must include AI to make the program and the machining process smarter.
Is it more a show or what do they want?
I think they, first of all, feel the industry that there is a lot of repetitive tasks, there is a lot of manual work, and the industry in general have a issue to find talents and they have a skill problem. And the complexity of the parts get more advanced. So they want support in that journey. And there, I think generative AI is perfect. And also manufacturing is a field of a lot of unstructured data. And I also think that is a perfect fit with generative AI.
What do your customers want from you? What pain points do they have and how do you solve them with AI?
I think one is that you would like to remove repetitive tasks. So if you can automate, either it's in the design to set up the instruction and the machining strategy for the particular component in the machine, or if it's in the inspection area, there are several use cases there that you can apply AI. For instance, feature check on issue could be more automated, so you can get recommendation quickly if this is you should use a machine strategy for a pocket or something like that. You can use the cutting tools. There are so many different cutting tools with different, let's say, choices to make how to use them depending on material, the process, and there generative AI can play a big role. And then I think that many of the vendors independently, if it's Sandvik or Siemens or other large companies, we have had a tendency of a lot of knowledge bases and information that we have stored internally, but we have not exposed it in a nice way. And I think through generative AI, we can enable to have a more reasoning engine to ask questions in natural language and get a response. And I think that helps in every step of the manufacturing value chain.
So we already talked a lot about Gen AI, but from my point of view, sometimes we forget, let's call it traditional AI approaches. Do you try to combine both worlds and how?
Yeah, there are certain projects in Sandvik that try to combine it. But if you look at, we that focus on the manufacturing area, then we are not using so many other models today, because first of all, generative AI is moving fast, and for every 6 months you more or less can forget what you have learned 6 months earlier. So we need to focus in order to deliver as much business value and innovation as possible. But I think we will reach a point where we can combine soon, and in particular, I think we need to progress on this journey now, because let's say the last 3-4 months, we have learned that you can combine small language models with large language models, and there's new tools coming every month now, or more or less every week, that we need to consume and learn to use, etc. And then traditional AI has still a complexity, so it fits very well for some certain applications, but we need to invest more and train the model more, and that gets more complicated, if you put it like that, but it can have huge value, of course. And one challenge, though, with generative AI still is that if you are a customer in the defense sector, as an example, you are very protective of your data. You don't want that to be stolen or anything like that. So traditional AI model could, of course, be deployed at the customer, maybe embedded close to the machine, etc. So there are a lot of advantages, but I think we just face the fact that the larger players like Google, OpenAI, Microsoft, together maybe with Amazon, and unfortunately we don't really have a European strong player. They are progressing so fast, and you also have NVIDIA enabling new chips constantly. So that's a choice. So for us, we have like 3 distinct projects. One is to empower our engineers, and that's then we have chosen to buy a solution, and that's GitHub Copilot. And we see a tremendous productivity increase for the teams that use that in the right way. Then there are limitations still, but still it's very productive.
I come back to the GitHub Copilot, but I want to, how can you keep up the pace? How difficult is it to choose the right LLM and make it then robust? Because you said, okay, they changed everything until 6 months and we need to keep up the pace. How do you do that in an organization like Sandvik?
We have chosen to have dedicated team. They are the only thing that when they go up in the morning, more or less, they work on this kind of topics and customer-driven development. And the approach that has so far been quite successful is to use the most advanced model and then play with the use case and learn how you can do that use case. It could be a simple thing, just like a translation or some prompts regarding cutting tools or something like that. And then you backtrack that and see what is the cost for this model, what is the drawbacks, etc. And then you seek what alternatives there are, because there are more than 1,500 now small language models you can choose from. And then you play with that, and then you try to, let's say, find what's most optimal for the use case and the user experience you want to deliver. And in particular for the quality of the prompts or the responses. And if you have that kind of mindset that you work with a clear scope and you have dedicated team, they are smart. And as long as they can get the chance to be creative, they find the best models for Sandvik and for the particular application.
When you mentioned the pace, I remember the keynote by Rainer Brehm 2 weeks ago. He explained how Siemens developed their industrial co-pilot, and then he described the situation. I think it was summer last year. He said, and then Microsoft changed the model, and we need to start again. Or we needed to start again. But is that because the process to deliver or to develop an industrial grade, robust product also for Sandvik is much longer than a software product or a LLM? Is this a problem for you?
I think we learn a lot from influence by some other companies, and we also talked a lot, for instance, with Microsoft and others that see what everybody doing, and I think they also collaborate with Siemens as an example. And from the beginning, I think it was many companies that selected a model where they use the OpenAI model, and then they build customization or adaptation on top. Maybe they even blend it with a traditional AI model or something like that. What they learn then is that when they change this platform, which they do now quite frequently, then you need to redo everything or rebuild everything you have done proprietary, which we don't do. So we learn from that mistake. So we don't work in that way. And that has been a good design principle for us. So we don't have that problems. But at the same time, you get new functionality and you can see that the responses have, let's say, more insightful prompts, etc. So there are absolutely changes. And as I said earlier, there are new tools coming and new capabilities which change the way you operate and how you can develop prompts. But at the same time, if you stay away from the customization and adaptation that is uniquely on top built in order to solve a problem, then you can still keep the pace. And some people maybe felt that, okay, we build this now, and then it was some gaps in the 3.5, let's say that, ChatGPT version. But I think it's more important to pay attention on the roadmap. So if there is no winning for you to try to build something that is not available now, if it will come later, but then it's better to wait. And I think that's a good choice we have done, and that keeps us in a good pace with the development.
Let's talk about the elephant in the room, data. How do you get data? How willing are customers to share data? Has that changed? Or do you work with synthetic data, and how do you create it?
I think, first of all, I would say, I joined the manufacturing industry for some few years ago, and it's a very nice environment. There's a lot of people that collectively want to make manufacturing more efficient. So you have data available, you have partners to work with, and we shall not forget also that Sandvik is a manufacturing company. We have a lot of sites.
Do you share data?
Yeah, we have I would say that there are no problem to collaborate internally like that and use that experience, if you put it like that. Then you can say you have a lot of unstructured data. And as I said earlier, generative AI is perfect for that. Then in order to fine tune and let's say assure that the data have high quality, you have a traditional model where you maybe wait for building business applications until you have set the data quality. So you work a lot on data quality, and then maybe you want to do something. We have taken a little different approach where we feel that we use the unstructured data and of course the structured data, work with that with prompt engineering, and then we expose this data. And if we learn that the data is not perfect, then we take that data set and then go back as a feedback loop to fix that. And that's a more dynamic way to, over time, assure that the data get better quality. But if we take an example of feature recognition, there we need to test. We have tested today with over 50,000 parts, but that's not enough. So we need to test with more, and then we blend testing with real components or the design of components and synthetic data. And here I think over time the models will support more ability to generate synthetic data. And today we have a bigger ratio of real data, and then we can make better synthetic designs of synthetic data of that. But so it's a stepwise process.
So you mentioned you have big customers and then you have smaller customers. Is there a difference between how willing customers to share data?
Yeah, I think in general there is a complexity to define the customers in that regard, because there are many small or mid-sized companies that supply to larger companies, and that could be in aerospace or in any segment, and then they need to comply to the, let's say, data protection sensitivity that a large company will have. But in general, I would say that any large company that work in a sensitive field like military or medical or something like that, they don't want to share data into other cloud environment. They would like to have control. But that doesn't mean that they can't share data in a protected environment like that.
So everybody talks about time series, I think, in the industrial sector and in manufacturing. Are you able to collect enough data, time series data?
I think we have that ability, yes. The investment to do it is maybe where a lot of companies, including Sandvik, are still struggle with, because I'm very impressed by like a company like Microsoft that from one day to another can take a decision. Now it's all in on.
But nobody will sell time series data to Microsoft.
No, that's true. But the way it is the ability to focus on it and to make sure it can be successful.
I've been waiting to record an episode with you a few weeks, but you have also said, wait a little longer and then we will have something. Tell us, what are your 3 favorites when it comes to AI at Sandvik?
I think, first of all, there will be a lot of new use cases that we will do, but we have had the approach that we focus on a few things and then we do that well.
Share with us.
Yeah, and one is to assure that our CAM products, which is the computer-aided manufacturing digital software that you can use to create a code to run the machine. There we are launching very soon generative AI support, CAM assistant we call it, and it's like a co-pilot for CAM. That will make it easier for any CAM operator or CAM designer to basically follow the process and get information in real time 24/7. And there we have a roadmap that is quite compelling, and we start with what we launch, and we will work very close with customers, and then we will add more capabilities to include what the product knowledge was within the product, so you can talk with the product basically, and then you will be able to combine products that is today siloed in the ecosystem, and that will be very interesting to see.
So you mentioned CAM Assist, or is it the pilot? You will offer this assist or this pilot for all software tools? Is this a Mastercam pilot, a Cimatron pilot? What is the idea?
Sandvik is a global large company, but still we have a multi-brand strategy. So if you take in our business units, you have different brands, and one is Mastercam, one is Gipscam, one is Cimatron, etc., etc. So they will have this technology built in their software. So for instance, now in the next release of Gipscam that is just a few weeks off, they will be called the Gipscam Copilot.
But I wonder, isn't that a step too fast? Shouldn't you start much sooner with the pre-processing of the data? I'm thinking of 3D models instead of OCR. Or am I misunderstanding this? Or is there no connection?
Our approach has been that we want to increase the productivity at our resellers or at our end users, our customers. And we see that there is too much time that is necessary to understanding the machining part or the CAM operation part. We see that they seek information and they want quick help, etc. So we think it's perfect fit to have, let's say, a 24/7 assistants that support the CNC operator with a improved in productivity as a result. Then there is also an issue in this market that many of the CAM companies translate a lot of the documentation to their products and technical support, etc., in a global market. So if you take just the example of Japanese, and that delays the releases to that market, etc. And we believe that generative AI is perfect for translation, as an example. So when we fit all this together, it's a very good start. And I think it's a reasonable first approach also for a customer, because we have worked with this over a year in development, training, and doing prompts and doing RAGs. But then when you take it out to the market, there are many people that maybe have used OpenAI chat, maybe not. And we need to build an understanding and let's say a way for them to grasp this type of new technology, use it in daily life, and work with us as a partnership. And we have a strong roadmap how we will improve, let's say, the ability to also include, let's say, feature recognition with the 3D files, or how to talk with the products, so maybe over time to create a machining strategy based on AI. But let's do that journey stepwise.
Oh, can you share some details of your roadmap?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, we have a very agile roadmap, so we will adjust according to, let's say, the quarterly releases type of mindset. But we are already preparing our products to how we shall be able to communicate with the products, so we can extract information, and sometimes from several of our products, in order to help the customer to, in natural language, ask a question or a willingness to do something, and we together can help them. And that's something we're working closely with. And there are new technology like semantic kernel from Microsoft, etc., that allow you to integrate, let's say, non-AI architectured products into an AI context, which means that you can start to communicate with the product from natural language, a command line interface, which also most likely will be a big driver for the changes how the user interface of some of the industrial software will transform in the future. Instead of having a very complex UI, you maybe use natural language instead to ask questions. And then you also can add voice, which is another benefit.
I want to come back to 3D files. Is this a topic for you? I think it's a topic for the whole industry, right?
Yes. I mean, now we are taking the approach where we train our model based on data we have, but also synthetic data. But there is also things happening now that with AI, you can, I don't know when, but it will not take too long time. You can more or less create your data quite dynamically through AI. But still you need this, let's say, data to make sure that this is a pocket of this size, and you validate that, and that you can transform the 3D files into what will mean for a machine strategy. And there will take longer time, but I think development goes quite quickly now. So just when ChatGPT 5.0 will be released and more GPU capacity, I think we will see a big change in this area. So we need to be very alert here and be on our toes, because technology moves fast now.
And do you see there new competition or companies you never thought about that there could be competitors?
Yes, for sure. I think the technology is easier to use than ever in this regard. I mean, I worked with AI for many years, but now it starts to be very easy to use it, and therefore, of course, competitors can come up. But I also think there will be a stress for even larger company that Sandvik, that is very strong in this domain today. But then again, it is hard to predict this type of technology shift, what happens when technology get easy to use and get, let's say, implemented in new ways, because you also have a tendency that manufacturing is a little conservative, there's a change management part, etc., and there is a trust that needs to be built up. So maybe it will be like in die and mold for certain segments. Maybe you can start using AI more, and then you learn and build trust, and then stepwise it starts to mature. But it's not a consumer type of service if you use that context. It is a more conservative context.
Sorry for stressing you with this 3D model and 3D files, because I think the industry you are working is absolutely focusing on this 3D files and how to use CAD and 3D files. Is there also opportunity for AI to help to solve this problem?
Yes, for sure. And I think it will be a very good area to use AI to simplify manufacturing. And I saw a post the other day from Christian Heining that works for Up to Part, which is a German startups in this field. And we all have different, let's say, ChatGPT moments. And he had this the other day, and it took only 4 prompts and 10 minutes to set up a repository, create small interactive 3D viewer in the browser, and then start displaying 3D CAD models. And I think that is what happens. And the more then, let's say, we move that data with the historical data, tolerance data, we can start to see, let's say, how easier it would be to interact with the 3D models in the future. And AI will be a clear transformative part of this.
But this is changing entire business models also for Up to Parts, maybe, right?
Yeah, it could. But I think for Up to Parts, I think they could have a potential success. They are a smaller, more agile company, and they can be quicker to understand this new technology than maybe some larger companies. So it could be a great opportunity, I see it.
But they need to use a new technology, a LLM or a Gen AI tool, right?
Yeah, but technology gets easier to use and get hold of for even small organizations today. So I see it as an opportunity.
How did you develop the Copilot? Which model is behind it? Where is it running?
Yeah, so we're using a protected environment, OpenAI, based on Microsoft. So we have collaborated closely with Microsoft, and they have supported us from day one as well. Although we have dedicated teams that is built up superior knowledge in this field as well.
And how do you train the model? Because this is very specific, right? This is domain-specific knowledge to use a CAM software, right?
Yes, we have a lot of, as I said earlier, unstructured data, but also documents, knowledge bases, things like that we include into the model and then work with prompt engineering. But there is also other additional data that we add over time here as we have learned. We have worked on this for 9 months now, full time. And then when we launch it, we will have a very close contact with customers to see how we shall further improve it.
Do you add domain-specific knowledge to the prompt in the back? How do you do that?
I mean, we have a very competent team that knows this industry. So we blend it between software developers that is very good in developing the software with application expertise in this domain field. I think that is super important because I've seen many projects where they maybe are built with consultants that outside of business, or there's a project in the, let's say, on the side of the core business. I think that's very important to remember that the biggest value will be, at least what I see in a company like Sandvik, if we can combine the traditional business and help that to grow with this, let's say, digital advancements or this AI transformation. And usually in a company like Sandvik or any large company of our size, you have thousands of people that have worked 20, 30 years that have enormous of knowledge. And the more you include them into the process, the more domain-specific excellence you will have.
And how do you call it, CAM Assistant, or what was the name?
Yeah, CAM Assist.
CAM Assist. What does the CAM Assist do you for your customer? More efficiency, more accuracy, more speed, accelerate? What are the main benefits you promise?
Yeah, I think first of all, there is a stress sometimes in the industry due to it takes a long time to find the right information. So that's something you resolve. And that addresses, of course, mental health and many things that you maybe don't really...
To find the right designs or what?
Yeah, design the machining strategy, basically. And then I think that, like, overarching trend, you want to digitalize more in any company today, which means that you want to connect several systems together to assure higher value or automate something more. And in order to do that, you want to get support from the products you have in order what is the capabilities you can do today. And sometimes what I see at least is that the knowledge about digital products are very good in how to use them for that particular reason they have acquired it for. But when you connect one system with another, they may not even know it's possible. Simple things like that. So sometimes there is things that is not that advanced that it will resolve. But also then, of course, if you bring it to training, people spend enormous amount of money to train people right now. And you get new people into the shop, etc. And you would like to train them faster at the machine or closer to the working environment. And if you have a capability where you can ask natural language and any type of question and you get support, then the training will also be simplified. So there is a lot of advantage with this kind of model.
That was your first favorite. Let's move on to the next favorite.
I think for us, feature recognition is a very compelling area. And if we can take a CAD file, put it into software, and it gives recommendations for how to, let's say, machine it in the best way, and then over time even select the right tool path for it, then you more or less come close to a single-click manufacturing sequence from a CAM perspective. We are not there yet for full that, but if we use AI in the feature recognition part, it will help for quoting. It will simplify to understand how to machine that part. And there we see a very nice field to use AI. And that's something we will launch later, not now, but we have come very far in this program. And I look forward for that innovation a lot. And we see that's a big demand from customers. Well, they would like to use a more intelligence in this field, because today it can consume quite a lot of time to just understand how to machine a part. And it's in particular when you are a mid-sized shop, maybe that where you want to respond with a quote, it is about winning a deal or something like that, then you want to quicken that time period up. But also customers that have a lot of flexibility in the production, a lot of different components, it helps a lot.
Can you please share a bit what is your approach there? Because that sounds not like a Gen AI approach, right?
No, it's actually a mixed.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah, you're right.
So what do you mix?
So it's little company secrets with those kind of things, right?
Oh, a bit.
But we have two different models we mix, and one is more traditional AI in that regard.
Okay, and then your third favorite.
Yeah, that's really not that we have developed internally, but we have seen the power of taking a third-party product to empower our software developers with Copilot approach in programming. And I think that also have helped us to understand where the manufacturing market will also go. I often believe that there's a big comparison to, let's say, a software development team and a team that operate a machine or work in the manufacturing area. They use often lean processes like Agile or Kanban. And although the CAM software is like a Visual Studio or something, and a simulation optimization tool is like a code analyzer, etc. There's a lot of similarities. And both are very creative and need more time to be creative. And it's a huge advantage to mark a string, understand where it belongs to in a quite complex code, maybe, and maybe you want to automate comments or some code, like Python code is more advanced, you can do more there. And I think that gives, first of all, an increase in productivity, so we can assure that our products get better and they can bring the market with more innovation, but also it gives a little feel for where the market is going, even in the manufacturing area, although the manufacturing area is more complex because you have more machine types, you have more complexity in material, etc. And there's a vast amount of various cutting tools, but still, that is very easy to compare.
How satisfied are you with the GitHub pilot? What does it save in terms of time or quality? Because I hear different voices about the Copilot.
I think in average, you could say that 20% increased productivity. Then in some areas, if you use, let's say, Python, you can increase that to 30 or even more. But in average, 20%. And of course, if you believe that the Copilot for GitHub would solve everything, and you have those kind of expectations, it will be fully automated, then you get disappointed. But then I think there is an unrealistic expectation. So use it for its strength. And then I think it's important to remember that type of product will only get better. So they work with a big investment to assure that this gets even better over time. So I think we're only seeing the start of it, to be honest.
So you already mentioned GitHub, and AI and open source is very close connected, both worlds, open source and AI. How difficult is it for you as an industrial company to use open source code? Because when I talk to mid-sized companies, say, oh, open source, I don't know. Is it a free lunch or free beer? We don't know the business model behind that. How difficult, or how do you embrace your software engineers to to use open source? Because I think there's no chance not to use open source when you go in the field of AI.
Yeah, it's a very good question. I mean, first of all, we want everybody to think in an open landscape and that they can use open source. Then we come, of course, to the challenges as well, that sometimes some open source component could have things within it that we don't fully understand, and it could have come from a third-party country that that wants to do something bad. And as we work in manufacturing field with a lot of sensitive information, it is super important to verify that. So, I mean, I'm very pleased that we have a very strong legal team in our company that work very close with us for these matters. But there are for sure risks with open source. But there's a balance. So
a completely new mind shift, right?
Exactly.
To use open source in the manufacturing field, that's
yes.
I was not aware that we are using open source, and but it's a big step for the industry to use open source, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and to be honest, I think if we use it with the responsibility of assuring trust and security, then I think the manufacturing field will advance to open source.
I want to come back to your customers. Do your customers demand explainable AI, for example, in your new CAM software? Because do customers ask, how did the AI decide? Or do they say, oh, we are not interested, it works fine, thanks a lot?
In general, I think we also have seen a lot of understanding of generative AI from because many people use ChatGPT in daily life. They don't fully understand how ChatGPT is built up, but they see the value of it already. And if they use it in private life, and particularly younger kids in school, etc., that's the only thing they do, more or less. And that translates into that there is a level of areas where they can't understand, but still it increased the productivity for them, or it satisfied their needs. So I think you have that. If you do a more traditional AI and a proprietary AI model, then you bring in more complexity in that you need to kind of inform the customer how it's built up and used. But on generative AI, how it's now, I don't really see that customer need to understand the underlying, but security for sure. They maybe want to see a commitment that we have, let's say, a commitment to continue this path, that we have teams available, that we can fine-tune and make it even better. But in general, it's a big interest. Then of course, there is a change management aspect. If you bring this out, it's fun in the beginning and you can use it. And then maybe there are areas that doesn't really support or help them as much, and maybe they stop using it. And there is this change management aspect that there needs to be a trust that the more they interact with it and the better we make the, let's say, offering for them. So I think there is a change management aspect. And I can see that even with ChatGPT, some people still don't use it, even though they should.
Sure. Do you also have to be a bit more an AI consultant for your customers? For example, build ML ops pipelines and stuff like that. And do you develop a closer collaboration when it comes to AI with your customer?
I think we get closer to our customers. Usually, manufacturing, as you indicated earlier, that there is not so much cloud solutions in the manufacturing floor yet. If you go to the office administration, like CRM, Office, whatever, then it's more cloud. The closer you get to machine, the less cloud. And that also means that it's sometimes we have good technical support that you can call, you can email, but generative AI and a chat assistant, that gives a closer relationship with the customer, and you can understand more what the customer wants based on the prompts they ask. Then you also have a security aspect of this, because we need to treat them with some anonymizing responsibility, because if we collect too much information, it will break the European AI Act. So it's but as long you follow that, you still can assure that you have a more closeness with customers. I think for customer expectation, I think it will be a big shift. Or
you mentioned cloud is not the favorite infrastructure when it comes to manufacturing. How difficult is to get everything on the edge? Or do we will see GPU instance on every machine? Or what is the idea?
Yeah, I mean that's a very good question. I do believe that we will see more edge and GPU close to the machine as well.
That's a good news for NVIDIA, right?
Yeah. And they release actually quite a lot of new functionality for that and offerings. But then it takes some time to adjust or build offerings that is cost efficient, etc. on that model. But I do think it will be a hybrid, and I think that would be good, because also some calculations are not perfect for cloud, because you maybe, first of all, if you go to a certain area, let's say you're located in Germany, you go to a certain area where the network capacity is maybe not the best.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
So then you have a latency issue.
We come to an end now to the podcast, because Magnus is not a very polite guest.
No, so you have those kind of situations.
We have these areas, yes.
Yeah.
I know.
So I think that a hybrid is a very good model, but today it's driven a lot from cloud in the advancements possible.
Magnus, last question. As a CTO, how much of your day is dedicated to AI? What interests you? What do you need to learn?
I would say that have changed a lot as well. I was or have launched several products that have embedded AI before, but I've been a quite skeptical person to this, because I think it is a little too complex. It costs too much to apply it, and it's changed too frequent in order to make something sustainable. Since a year, or a little more than a year, I spend almost all my wake up time thinking about AI related topics, and on weekends, if I don't have anything to do, like playing golf or be with my family, I only research on AI related topics. And I think that has been a big transformation also for many people in my team and my organization, that we have something called collective intelligence, where we meet 4 times a year with all the tech people and discuss and learn from each other and harness the knowledge we have. And we launched AI as a more distinct program September 2023, and you can see already now how huge steps we have taken, and I see every day that they spend more and more time on this topic. So I think as an organization, we will see an increase of how much time they spend on this. But for me, I think it's so fun. It's a so rewarding area. So I spend as much time I can on it, to be honest.
I have one more question, because you mentioned your team. How do you find the right people? The competition for talent is so tough. And how to find these AI talents?
I think the model we have chosen, where we use the people within our organization with the vast and harness the knowledge basically and competence in the field they already are so good at, and mix that with a few people that can advance with specific AI knowledge, then that, to answer that question, is a little easier, because we don't need the majority of AI experts. And if we didn't have these platforms from Microsoft and Google, etc., then we would have much more need for AI expertise, if you put it like that. So I think and also I would say that manufacturing, from being, let's say, an area where everything should be outsourced to some country elsewhere, it's starting to be, due to geopolitical reasons, very important for each country. So in Sweden or Germany, manufacturing gets more important, and therefore I think also younger people are attracted by this area, and then it have helped that inflation and other things have created an environment where some of the startup companies have been seen as a risk, and some people would like to join a traditional, more stable company. And if they then can have a purpose, either working with sustainable manufacturing or, let's say, autonomous manufacturing, and work with AI and modern tools, they feel it very attractive. So the simple answer is that I think we are in a quite good spot to find good talents.
So you are looking for domain-specific knowledge, and then you combine it with AI in your team, right?
Yes, and I think one of the best examples, there are not too many examples still, but if you look at how they develop GitHub Copilot, there was a project with OpenAI called Codex, and they worked and collaborated with Python developers, and they also hired Python developers. And that's kind of the same here, but if you have operators or people specialized in CAM or know this field very well, application expertise, and you mix that then with the software developer, then you have the recipe for success.
And when is Chem Assist coming now?
I think we are 2 weeks from it.
Okay. And can you sell it? Is it a product you can sell? And because everybody has a problem to sell something with AI, can you really sell it?
I think we will find ways to monetize it, but I do believe that it makes the products more compelling, so it will sell more of the products. And then it will also increase the recurring, let's say, revenue for us. But still, this is a new play field.
You have to invest.
Yeah, exactly. And it's hard to sit and model it internally, and then if you launch it, work with customers, you will find ways to monetize it, because then you understand the real value of it as well when it's with customers.
Magnus, thank you very much. It was a pleasure to talk to you about the AI strategy by Sandvik. All the best and a lot of success with your Chem Assist, and greetings to Stockholm.
Thank you, Robert. Nice to be here. Thank you.